Silence has a way of settling over us long before we notice it. Not the peaceful kind that soothes the mind, but the heavy, echoing kind that feels like a door closing inside your chest. The kind of silence that doesn't calm you, but confronts you. The kind that hurts because it leaves you alone with everything you've avoided. We talk about noise as if it's the problem, but often noise is the shield. Noise protects us from what quiet exposes. Noise keeps us busy, distracted, moving. Silence removes all that. It sits with you. It listens to you. It asks questions you don't want to answer. There is a silence that arrives after disappointment. The moment after a message doesn't come. After a promise isn't kept. After a hope collapses under its own weight. It's not loud, but it's sharp. It presses against the ribs and makes the heart beat harder just to remind you that you're still here. And there is another kind. The silence you create yourself. The one you build by swallowing feelings, by pretending you're okay, by keeping your truth folded inside because speaking it feels risky. You convince yourself it's better that way. Better to stay quiet than to be misunderstood. Better to stay silent than to need someone. Better to be strong than seen. But silence doesn't disappear just because you choose it. It collects. It gathers inside the body like static. Tension in the jaw, heaviness in the stomach. The kind of exhaustion that sleep can't fix. Unspoken truth doesn't die. It waits. And then, one day, the silence becomes too loud to ignore. It doesn't ask for your permission. It simply appears like fog over a familiar road. You realize there are things you've been avoiding, conversations you never had, feelings you minimized, questions you were afraid to ask. Silence hurts not because it is empty, but because it is honest. It reveals what noise was hiding. It places a mirror in front of you and asks you to look without turning away. There is a moment, small but undeniable, when you finally understand that the silence around you is the echo of the silence within you. Sometimes the silence of others is the thing that cuts the deepest. Not because they owe you words, but because human beings are wired to feel connection. When connection breaks, the absence feels like a wound. Silence becomes a message, a story you try to interpret without context. Did I matter? Did I imagine it? Did something change? Was I not enough? You begin to fill the silence with assumptions, with spiraling thoughts, with old memories of other times you were abandoned or overlooked. The mind hates uncertainty, so it invents explanations to close the gap, and those explanations often hurt more than the truth. But the silence of another person is not your handwriting. You are not responsible for what they cannot say. Their distance does not define your worth. Their absence is not a verdict. Silence speaks, but it doesn't always speak about you. There is also the silence you feel in relationships that continue, but without depth. The conversations get shorter, the response is slower, the energy dimmer. You feel the disconnect long before anyone names it. It feels like sitting beside someone with miles of distance between you. That silence is its own kind of grief, a quiet knowing that something is shifting. But here is the thing, silence that hurts is also silence that teaches. It teaches you what you truly need. It teaches you where you've been settling. It teaches you who meets you halfway and who doesn't. It teaches you that connection cannot be sustained by one person reaching. It teaches you the kind of presence your heart actually responds to. In silence, truths that were blurry become sharp. Feelings you've ignored rise to the surface. Self-deception becomes impossible. And clarity, though painful, becomes a form of relief. There is a silence that reveals your own voice, the one that was drowned out by expectations, fear, or responsibility. In that silence, you finally hear, "I'm tired. I'm lonely. This isn't enough for me. I need gentleness. I deserve reciprocity. I've been pretending. I kept going long after something inside me asked to stop." Silence becomes the place where you meet yourself without distraction, and that meeting is never meaningless. You rediscover what your body has been trying to tell you. You recognize the emotions you pushed aside. You remember the boundaries you abandoned. You feel the truth you've been carrying quietly for years. And although it hurts, something else begins to happen too. Something subtle, almost imperceptible. You begin to return to yourself. The silence that hurts transforms into the silence that heals the moment you stop resisting it. The moment you say, "Okay, I'm listening." The moment you stop running from the truth and let it sit beside you instead. In that softness, healing begins. Not by fixing everything at once, but by acknowledging what is real. Silence becomes a teacher instead of a threat. It becomes a place of refuge instead of fear. It becomes the room where you learn to breathe again. You start to understand that rest is not laziness, that feeling is not weakness, that slowness is not failure. You learn that your worth has never depended on being unbreakable. You learn that space is necessary, that boundaries are sacred, and that listening is a form of self-respect. There are silences you can't control, others choices, others distance, others timing. But the silence you create within yourself can become the most powerful space you own. A space to reflect, a space to recalibrate, a space to choose differently, a space to feel what needs to be felt before it turns into something heavier. This silence is not punishment. It is an invitation to be honest, an invitation to be gentle, an invitation to return home to yourself. And home is not loud. Home does not rush. Home is the quiet place inside you that never stopped waiting. If you're still here, it means the kind of silence we talked about in the first part is not just an idea to you. It's something you felt in your own body, in your own life, in moments when the world was quiet enough to expose what you were trying not to notice. So let this next part be a softer descent inward, a place where you meet yourself without distractions or explanations. Begin by noticing your own presence right now. Notice the weight of your hands, the way your shoulders rest, the gentle tension around your eyes. Silence often shows itself first through the body, not through thoughts. Your body keeps the truth long before your mind finds the courage to name it. Think about the last time silence hurt you, not because someone stopped speaking, but because the quiet forced you to hear yourself more clearly than you expected. Maybe it was the silence after a message you hoped for didn't arrive. Maybe it was the silence after a conversation that never happened. Maybe it was the silence you created to protect yourself, even though it left you feeling alone. Ask yourself quietly, what is the silence in my life trying to show me? Let whatever rises come without editing. A person, a memory, a truth that's been waiting, a part of you that wants attention, not avoidance. There are feelings that surface only when noise fades. Things you didn't want to feel earlier because feeling them meant rearranging your life in ways you weren't ready for. So you called it confusion, or stress, or just being tired. But deep down, you felt something changing. Let yourself name one thing that silence has been revealing to you. Not perfectly, not loudly, just honestly. Sometimes silence rises when you've outgrown a situation. Sometimes it appears when you've been giving too much without receiving. Sometimes it shows up when your intuition is speaking more clearly than you're used to hearing. And sometimes silence appears because you've finally stopped running from something important. Now gently ask yourself, what is the truth behind the silence I've been feeling? Maybe it's the truth that you've been lonely even around people. Maybe it's the truth that you've been carrying disappointment behind a composed face. Maybe it's the truth that you've stayed in a version of your life that no longer feels like home. You don't need to fix it right now. Just acknowledge it. Truth doesn't demand action. It only asks to be seen. Take a moment and think about the silence of others in your life, the distance you felt, the unanswered messages, the emotional gaps that left you confused. For a long time, you may have believed that silence was your fault, that you weren't enough, that you did something wrong. But silence from others is not a reflection of your value. It's a reflection of their capacity. Let that land gently. The silence of someone else does not define you. Their absence is not your failure. Their distance is not evidence that you are unworthy. Their quiet is not a verdict. It is simply information. Now consider the silence you've created inside yourself, the thoughts you muted, the feelings you pushed away, the truths you swallowed to appear strong. This internal quiet can feel protective, but it often becomes the heaviest silence of all. Ask yourself, what part of me have I been quieting for too long? Maybe it's the part of you that wants softness. Maybe it's the part that needs honesty. Maybe it's the part that is tired of being the strong one. Allow one of those inner voices to rise, not to overwhelm you, but to introduce itself. This is the version of you the noise drowned out, the version that silence is trying to bring back. Imagine sitting across from yourself in a quiet room. No pressure, no expectations, just presence. What would this quieter version of you say? What would they admit if they felt completely safe? What truth have they been waiting to hand you? Let the answer come slowly. This is the kind of honesty that builds, not breaks. Now imagine the silence not as an enemy, but as a guide, a space that clears away the noise, so you can finally hear what you've been needing. Maybe what you need is rest. Maybe it's release. Maybe it's a boundary. Maybe it's closure. Maybe it's a beginning. Silence holds all of that, gently, patiently, without force. Think about the life that exists on the other side of your honesty. Not louder, not fuller, but clearer. A life where you no longer interpret silence as rejection, but as direction. A life where the quiet moments don't scare you, because they're finally aligned with what you feel internally. You don't need to rush this. You don't need to turn this awareness into action tonight. Just acknowledge the truths that have been echoing inside you. Let them breathe. Let them settle. Let them soften. Because the silence that hurts becomes the silence that heals the moment you listen differently. Not anxiously, not fearfully, but openly. And tonight, you listened. You faced what has been waiting quietly inside you. You allowed yourself to hear the truth beneath the noise. That alone is its own form of courage. The kind of courage that doesn't need applause, the kind that feels like finally coming home. This video is part of a daily path, a space to breathe through what feels heavy, to find clarity inside the noise, and to remember the calm that still exists beneath everything. Tomorrow brings another chapter, another reflection, another quiet pause. If it feels right, come back. We will continue together, one day at a time. This is Form Within Mind, where calm takes shape.